It's not really smooth jazz. I've
Yay.
got jazz.
It's not smooth jazz. It's light jazz. It's just jazz, really. It's
Light
just
jazz.
jazz.
Jazz. It's really
More
jazz.
jazz. It's just jazz. Um, jazz. That's what we're going to talk about today on narration. Oh, why is my screen
I
so
hear
bright
you.
today?
It's a miracle.
Something else is obviously wrong. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll
Clearly.
discover that shortly.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, I guess we should narrate something.
Get started. So we are on page 301. We're punching in after she sidestepped, so he couldn't ping her with reasons to calm down. So we're starting with you're just pretending like he's not involved.
Okay.
Alessandra says, "Happy International Women's Day."
Hey, hello, Alessandra. Happy International Women's Day to you too.
All right, and Paul Keelan says, "Words."
Oh, words,
Okay.
and immediately there's a train.
Words, Roxanne. Words. Except it's worms.
Worms, Roxanne, worms. Yes, that's right.
Worms, Roxanne. Worms. Yep.
Yeah. The weather is, just in case you can't tell from the mitts that I'm wearing, the weather has turned. It was really gorgeous and shirt sleeve yesterday. It is still, for Chicago, this would be a lovely, lovely day. For Tennessee, it's a little chilly, especially in a room without heat.
Yeah.
So, all right, the engine is passed, I think.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Rested his hand on her upper arm. Tesla, let's go. She sidestepped so he couldn't ping her with reasons to calm down.
You're just pretending like he's not involved because he works here. She was using her outside voice and did not care. It would look like shit for the company if an employee turned out to be a serial killer. I mean, Niall knows all the blind spots for the cameras on the ship. I'm sure Chief Weiser is aware of all of this. Shal's voice was soothing. Why was he soothing her? Does he also know about the out-of-order sign? Does he know that Emmanuel confirmed that Niall and Ori were arguing with George? She turned to Maria for support, but the security officer's face was set and blank. You were there. You were
there.
You were there?
If it was just about you and learning magic, why was George Saikawa involved in the argument? Belatedly, her brain raised a flag. Niall knew all the blind spots on the ship, but figuring out the parameters of those would require someone watching the monitors while he tested the range. So who helped him? Who had access to all of the cabins? Who had control of the investigation? Weiser shook his head and looked at Shal. As one professional to another. I'll tell you why I let Niall. Professional to another. I'll tell you why I let Niall walk away. I'll tell you. I want to hit you a little harder.
Okay, here we go.
Professional to another. I'll tell you why I let Niall walk away, and hope you can get it through your wife said that sometimes other people actually know how to do their jobs. There are things I need to check, and I can't do that if Niall or Yuki are spooked. From her chair, Piper chimed in. Plus, she's right that he knows all of the blind spots for cameras on the ship. There's nowhere to hide applies to everyone except him. So he could be hiding my dog? Tesla's chest hurt and her eyes burned. Why aren't you doing anything besides announcements? Maria Piper stood up, folding her handheld. I promise you that I've got people looking for Gimlet. But she didn't promise that they would find her. Tesla let Piper herd them into the hall, but stopped and faced the theater. She was stressed and sweating, but also the fact that Jalna had been backstage was nagging at her, especially knowing that Niall's security code had been used. Sorry, there's a plane coming. I was like, what does that sound?
Especially.
Oh my God, the downpour that we got yesterday right after we stopped. It's like, it's a good thing we were not scheduled to go any longer because it would have been impossible to record.
That's fun. I'm glad we got it through for
Yeah.
Or nature
Okay,
decided
clear.
not to cooperate anymore. All right.
Was nagging at her.
Especially knowing that Niall's security code had been used. Wetting her lips, she turned to Shal. Do you want to watch the show before we go back? He studied her, eyes drawing paths across her face as if he were counting neurons. You sure? She nodded. If necessary, she'd keep her eyes closed, but she wanted to talk to Annie and Jalna, and it would be easier if they just happened to be in the audience at the end of the show. Shal and Maria exchanged a glance over her shoulder as if her thought process had been a cartoon bubble over her head. Slowly, her spouse nodded. Sure. Let's watch the rest of the show, if that's okay with you, Maria. Barely, but I'm pretty sure that if I don't stay with you, you'll wander off and get into a different mischief. They headed out to the audience, taking care to let the door shut gently behind them so it wouldn't bother the rest of the spectators.
Taking care.
Mm-hmm.
It out to the audience.
Taking care to let the door shut gently behind them so it wouldn't bother the rest of the spectators. Even with the carpeting, Tesla had the urge to tiptoe as they headed back to the yacht club.
After carpeting.
Even with the carpeting,
Tesla had the urge to tiptoe as they headed back to the yacht club box seats. On stage, Niall had a slender pedestal with a small shopping bag on it. Honestly, you can get anything from the convenience store on the promenade level.
Sorry. Is that another plane?
I think
Nope.
maybe at your
Okay.
place.
Sorry.
It's okay.
On stage. Let's see here. Her shopping bag on. Here we go.
Okay.
shopping bag on it.
Honestly, you can get anything from the convenience store on the promenade level. And they aren't just making me say that as veiled marketing. He paused while the audience chuckled. But seriously, if you need to make things even more romantic, they've got flowers. In the box seats, Annie leaned forward, smiling like a child. Beside her, Jalna had her arm across the back of her partner's chair, rubbing her shoulder gently. From the bag, Niall pulled a large cloisonné vase with a giant collection of broken green stems. That's not. He set them down on stage. Sorry. Right. Well, if you don't like the flowers, maybe a cake. Their carrot cake is to die for. At the edge of the box, Maria stopped, looking it over as if for danger. At the motion, Jalna looked around and saw Tesla and Shal. She smiled and waved to the empty seats beside her. Perfect. The invitation made it look a lot less like Tesla was stalking them. On the stage, the magician was peering into the bag. Huh. From it, he pulled out an enormous cake that looked as if someone had swiped great handfuls out of it. Niall wiped his finger through some of the remaining icing. Well, sorry, that got a little vocal fry in it, which tends it towards shall.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Remaining icing.
Well, it's delicious. Tesla slid into the seat beside Jalna, while Maria lurked at the back of the booth. Annie leaned forward across her spouse, offering Tesla her hand. Tesla accepted it, and the handshake ping that came with skin-to-skin contact. Annie Barnes, she, her? Tesla hesitated, and then sent her own to establish the intimate connection. Tesla Crane, she, her. On her HUD, Annie pinged. There won't be any pyro until the end of the show. I'll give you plenty of warning. Thank you, that's very kind. A knot eased between Tesla's shoulder blades. That was one thing, at least, that wouldn't ambush her. Champagne! That's always! Liquid sprayed up and out of Niall's shopping bag as the audience laughed in a collective guffaw. Niall scrambled to collect the champagne bottle as it continued to gush. Slipping on some of the icing from the cake, he knocked the stand over.
Let me check a couple quick things.
Mm-hmm. When I originally wrote this scene, as you were checking things, I will tell our listening audience, I did not know what the magic routine looked like. So I just had a bunch of dialogue and then bracket, more magic happens on stage, bracket. And then there was more dialogue and the action in the box seat, bracket, more magic on stage. And then I had to go back and figure out what the magic routine was.
Let's do from Niall scrambled and keep going from there. We scrambled to extract.
Okay.
Collective guffaw.
Niall scrambled to extract the champagne bottle as it continued to gush. Slipping on some of the icing from the cake, he knocked the stand over and it hit the stage, facing directly toward the front row. An absolutely adorable brown and white rabbit hopped out. Their little nose twitched. They had a long red rose hanging out of their mouth and munched happily. Niall scooped the bunny up. Mix flopsy, everyone.
Scooped the bunny up.
Mix flopsy, everyone. As the audience applauded, Shyle kissed Tesla on the cheek. In a low voice, he asked the row, Champagne sounds like a good idea. Can I fetch drinks for folks? How about a French 75? She glanced over at Jalna and Annie and withdrew her hand. Anything for you? For the champagne theme, champagne. How's champagne actually said by a French person?
I think it's champagne.
Champagne. Okay. There is, fortunately, a plane.
Forvo it if you like.
Yeah, let's Forvo it. Good call. Should probably make a transition screen just to show people Forvo. I mean...
Does that be a different scene or something? Is in the
yeah, I just have to make a new scene.
Champagne.
Champagne. Okay. It's a very loud plane.
Champagne. It is. It is a loud plane.
Yeah. It's just kind of hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Oh well. Okay, it's gone.
Okay. Here we go.
Anything for you?
For the champagne theme, Kir Royale, Kir Royale.
After theme, I think.
Champagne theme.
Kir Royale for Annie, and since I doubt they have true champagne on this ship, Tranquility Royale for me. Jalna's gaze turned back to the stage, where dancers in spangles and little else cleared the performance area in a flamboyant display of musculature and reset it for the next trick. Shal gave something akin to a scout salute and sauntered out of the box. He paused to murmur to Maria.
We gotta get two things. I forgot that we have to go back and get. As they already spotted, Shao kissed Tesla on the cheek.
Shal kissed us on the cheek?
You said Shile.
Oh, got it. But you just said Shal kissed us instead of Tesla. I'm like, oh, do you have a crush on Shal too?
I guess so. Must have been my subconscious. He's so dreamy.
He is.
All right. He is. Shao kissed Tesla on the cheek. All right, here we go.
The audience applauded.
Shal kissed Tesla on the cheek. Mm-hmm.
So then musculature. Something about musculature.
I think it was basically me doubting it as I was saying it.
That's what it was. Yeah, it sounded like a question rather than a.
Mm-hmm.
See. So.
And flamboyant display of musculature?
Musculature? After clear the performance area, we'll just keep going from there if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There you go.
The performance area.
In a flamboyant display of musculature and reset it for the next trick. Shal gave something akin to a scout salute and sauntered out of the box. He paused to murmur to Maria. Tesla bit her lips, wanting to go with him, but staying here made more sense. She had questions for Jalna and Annie, and sharing an experience would make an easier segue. She turned back to the box where spotlights picked out two deep blue boxes silvered with an Art Deco-inspired solar system. Annie was leaning forward in her seat again, hands clasped together with rapt attention on the stage. Jalna was looking at Tesla. The laws of time and space are mysterious. They can be bent by a small rabbit at whim. But what about a person? Niall opened one of the boxes, and Yuki stood inside, dressed in silver fringe that contrasted with the dark interior of the box. Jalna leaned in to Tesla. I wonder if we might speak later, privately? Every adrenaline-producing cell in Tesla's body doubled its output simultaneously. She wasn't sure which was more alarming, that Jalna might be related to the murders or that she would want to talk about robots. Of course. It is possible for Yuki to get from here to there by ordinary transit. Niall stepped to the second box on a dark, opened.
Let's go back and get one other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Previous page. She turned back to the stage where the spotlights picked up, blah, blah, blah. You said she turned back to the box.
Thank you.
Yeah, through two deep blue boxes. turn back to the stage. The DP boxes. It's
I see it.
second paragraph from the. Okay, good. Here we go.
Easier segue.
She turned back to the stage.
I'll open. Here we go.
Transit.
Sorry. Was not quite back. I was trying to make the... I was playing with OBS to make a Chrome thing so I could show them Forvo next time. All right, go ahead.
Gotcha. Here we go.
Ordinary transit.
Niall opened the second box on a dark, empty interior as his assistant stepped gracefully out of the first box and walked over to the second. Just as we are transiting to Mars. Thank you. I have wanted to find the time, but with... She gestured as if trying to include the entire ship. Everything. There has been no opportunity. Dry cotton filled Tesla's mouth. I've wanted to talk to you, too. I wonder if it is the same topic. But what if we could go instantly? If they produce the transporter that they have been promising since the middle of last century. Niall closed the door with Yuki inside. He pressed his hand against it. Is it a matter of technology or will? I believe that it is will. Watch. The other hand went on the case. Niall breathed out and strained as if pushing the box, although it did not move. The other box shuddered. Jalna tapped a finger.
Let's see here. Let's do a little edit here.
Okay.
Okay, so taking it on John tapped.
Shuddered.
Jalna tapped a finger on the arm.
Shuddered.
Jalna tapped a finger on the arm of her chair, watching the stage. Perhaps. I suspect so, yes. Sirens in the distance. Coming closer. Coming for me!
Huh. They've found you.
No, no!
We'll pick it up on
Okay,
I suspect
clear.
so, yes. Okay.
Perhaps.
I suspect so, yes. As Niall sagged, the door to the far box opened.
After sag.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
As
wait,
Niall
there's more.
sagged.
There's more.
No siren.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all clear?
There you go.
As Niall sagged.
The door to the far box opened, and Yuki stepped out. He looked at his hands and then out to the audience with astonished triumph. Annie leaned across Jalna and whispered, He always looks amazed.
But let's go back and get that first punch one more time just because there's a dropout. So
Okay.
as Niall said.
As Niall sagged.
The door to the far box opened, and Yuki stepped out.
He looked at his hands and then out to the audience with astonished.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Interruption yourself. Punch is fine.
Great.
So, picking it up. He always looks so amazed.
Dalna and whispered.
He always looks so. There's no so.
Dalna and whispered.
He always looks amazed, and I believe him every time, even though we've seen this show. How many times? This is our fourth. Jalna's hand caressed the nape of Annie's neck as she smiled indulgently at her partner. Tesla and I are going to have a day-to-day after. Is that all right, my love? Niall looked at the audience and winked, then stepped into the dark box. Oh, about your robot? Among other? Metal ground on metal mixed with a scream. The scream cut off abruptly. For a moment, the theater was dark, was dead still.
I think it's tete-a-tete in the
Tete-a-tete.
Americanized, and also I think it's a hard French, hard T, rather.
Okay.
Let me look it up here.
Hey, I've got the, almost have.
Tete-a-tete.
Tete-a-tete. Tete-a-tete. Okay.
Let's see. That's not gonna have a tete-a-tete after. Is that all right,
Okay.
man?
Actually, at her partner.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally just clicked the wrong thing and went to a random place on my computer. One more time, please.
Actually, at her partner.
Tesla and I are going to have a tete-a-tete after. Is that all right, my friend? My love? I am, so pleased.
Stranger
and
who
so
shared my
very
life
pleased.
for the last
25 years.
I got the other.
Okay.
So, moving on. For a moment, the theater was
Okay.
dead silent.
Off abruptly.
For a moment, the theater was dead still and silent, and then Yuki ran to the box as blood began to drip onto the stage. Magician's nibbling. 1 ounce rum. 1 ounce. 1 ounce.
After rum.
1 ounce rum.
1 ounce Lillet Blanc. 1 ounce Aperol. Did not believe myself with Aperol. Try it again.
I think it's Lillet Blanc.
Yes, you are correct. It is Lillet. I don't know, which I always say, and then this time for some reason.
All good. All right, let's take it from 1 ounce Lillet Blanc. Here we go.
Okay.
1 ounce rum.
1 ounce Lillet Blanc. 1 ounce Aperol. Aperol. Aperol is what I usually say.
I don't say it enough to have an opinion. Aperol. Aperol. It's Italian? Yeah, you should listen to it. Oh, excellent.
Aperol.
All right, so we'll do 1 ounce, whatever that is, however you're going to say it.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Soleil Blanc.
1 ounce Aperol dash absinthe. Orange peel. Coat coupe with absinthe. Stir other ingredients over ice for 40 seconds. Garnish with flamed orange peel. The lights in the theater had been turned up to full and cast deep shadows under the eyes of everyone Weiser had dragged in. Tesla sat in her chair, focusing on her HUD.
Tesla, here we go.
Weiser had dragged in.
Tesla sat in her chair, focusing on her HUD, and tried not to look at the curtained stage where Niall Silver had died.
And try. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on her HUD.
And tried not to look at the curtained stage where Niall Silver had died. Been killed. She swallowed heavily, remembering the abrupt edge of his unfinished scream. Shal held her hand and was patched into her HUD, since he still only had local access. So he could.
So he could.
Local access.
So he could hear Fantine while she ranted. Per your request, I was able to pull the photo of the crane robotics competition and, as an interesting and unsurprising side note, one of the kids in that competition had a forged ID. She flashed the group shot of the competitors, including a version of Tesla that was emaciated, wearing sunglasses, and standing with the help of a pair of crutches. The image zoomed in on one kid with long blonde hair and a pair of braids. This child doesn't exist anywhere but here. Oh, Methuselah's swim trunks! Is he taking me back into the theatre? Hey, flaming lard brain! What in the name of St. Ives are you doing taking my clients back to a murder scene? And don't you dare pretend that the death of Niall Silver was anything except murder. Buzz the kid's head.
Buzz the kids. Can you do me a favor and did you listen to Tete-a-Tete yourself on the Forvo?
I did not.
Can you do it just to make sure? I think we got it correct, but Leanne is saying that it might be different. Thanks. Let me find it. Plain. So,
Tête-à-tête.
now you can listen to what it did, which I think is good.
Tesla and I are going to have a tete-a-tete after.
Yep, sounds good. I mean, I was making sure that we did what you heard, and I think we did, but I just want another ear on it. Yep. Okay. After murder.
Murder.
Let's see here. Murder. Buzz the kid's head. Here we go.
Okay.
Except murder.
Buzz the kid's head aged them to 16, and Tesla was staring at Ewan. On the screen, Fantine ostentatiously punched buttons on a physical calculator. Calculating Lord Brain's net worth so I know how long I have to let him live to pay off the lawsuits I'm bringing against. His hand on Tesla's, Charles did a double take, leaning forward to stare at the screen. I know this kid. Why do I know this kid? When did you take this? 3 years... Oops, sorry.
When did you take this?
3 years ago? Charles smacked his knee. Hey, Fantine. She's frozen. Tesla looked back down at the screen where her lawyer sat in a freeze frame, with one eye half closed and her mouth smooshed to the side. She tapped the screen, then checked her HUD. There's a plane again. I'm not sure how much of that it was under. Boy, there's a lot of exterior noise today.
After tap the screen. So starting with checked her HUD, then checked her HUD. When the plane is gone.
Should be the name of a memoir. When the plane is gone.
When the plane is gone. After the plane.
Story of aviation. Okay, I think we're clear.
Okay. After she tapped the screen, so then checked her HUD. Here we go.
She tapped the screen.
Then checked her HUD. I'm offline. Hell baskets. Charles nudged her and pointed to the far end of... Sorry, let me do hell baskets again, please.
Okay.
I'm offline.
Hell baskets. Charles nudged her and pointed to the far end of the row, and devils spoken of. A security officer pressed Ori down into a chair at the end of their row. Ewan slipped past their dad to sit hunched in the chair next to him. Tesla looked from the picture to the kid and back again. Same child. She saved the photo locally and consulted the metadata on it. In the photo, Ewan is named Eve Smith. Eve Smith. Eve. If they were... Oh-ho! Charles suddenly grabbed her knee and gestured with his chin to the entrance.
Charles suddenly?
Oh!
Charles suddenly grabbed her knee and gestured with his chin to the entrance of the theater. Bob was escorting in Yuki, except Yuki was sitting in the row in front of them with Annie and Jalna. Maja Bean was in the same row, and from behind the two could be twins, but not as much as the man Bob brought in. He was dressed in the same outfit as Yuki, and his hair was disheveled. She was not the only one doing an identical take. Ewan was openly gawking at him. He's an identical twin? Pops! Ori put a finger across his lips. His hands were cuffed in front of him, and his fingers had been gnawed, raw cuticles. His fingers had gnawed raw cuticles.
Let's go back and do yes. Okay. Interesting. Don't know how that happened. I'm not going to have that happen though. Interesting, yes indeed. Something happened. Well, 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. Alright, we gotta go back to the punch after a hoe. For some reason track got turned off, and when I tried to undo it, it undid our recording after a hoe. So picking up at a hoe again. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh!
Shal suddenly grabbed her knee and gestured with his chin to the entrance of the theater. Bob was escorting in Yuki, except Yuki was sitting in the row in front of them with Annie and Jalna. Majabine was in the same row, and from behind the two could be twins, but not as much as the man Bob brought in. He was dressed in the same outfit as Yuki, and his hair was disheveled. She was not the only one doing a double take. Ewan was openly gawking at him. "He's an identical twin? Pops!" Ori put a finger across his lips. His hands were cuffed in front of him, and his fingers had gnawed red cuticles. His eyes were red and swollen as if he'd been crying. Tesla leaned into Shal. "Twins makes it very handy to be in two places at once, eh?" He slid his arm around her back and kissed her ear. "What I want to know is why no one on the security staff has seemed interested in this shockingly relevant detail." "You think Maria knew?" "The ship has a problem if she didn't." He scanned the room. "Also, she's not... Never mind." Maria Piper walked in, her face set like carbonite, escorting Josie and Emmanuel. She led them down the stairs to the small grouping and, at a gesture from Weiser, put them in the row with Candy the medic, behind Tesla and Shal. Weiser strode back and forth. I'm just inserting some commas.
Okay. Let's go back and get a couple things.
Okay. Okay.
That one, I think, myself. Indeedy. So then, top page. Ori put his finger across his lips. I think you said he put a finger.
Got it.
Wait, we got to go back to one other thing.
Okay.
Did we get that one already? Oh, we got that one already. Great. Okay, so. Right, so Ori put his finger across his lips.
Okay.
You said Ori put a finger across his lips, and I'm just having a vision of him taking a finger, random finger.
Just a random finger. Yeah.
Yeah, just pulling it out. Here we go.
"Pops!"
Ori put his finger across his lips.
Thank you. And then, yeah, and his fingers had gnawed raw cuticles. You said gnawed red cuticles.
Thank you.
Let's see here. I guess I should have just let you keep going there. Sorry about that. So after lips, just the next phrase, please.
Across his lips.
His fingers were cuffed in front of him. Maybe his hands were cuffed in front of him. It's just...
I mean,
you know,
by the transitive property, his fingers, therefore. Here we go.
Across his lips.
His hands were cuffed in front of him, and his fingers had gnawed raw cuticles.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got those. We'd said identical take before I lost that piece. And that was the other one, so we'll go back to it.
Got it.
Behind Tesla and Shal. So on that same page. So sorry, Weiser strode back. Excuse me.
And Tesla and Shal.
Weiser strode back and forth in the aisle in front of the small group, counting them. "All right. Everyone shifts so that there's an empty chair between you and your neighbor. I don't want any local network sharing during this." Tesla was not the only one who grumbled. Before she moved a seat farther into their row, Shal squeezed her hand, getting in one last ping. "It'll be okay." Weiser waited until they were all settled. He looked up into a corner of the room and nodded, then turned back to face the group. "There have been deaths on my ship. I don't like that.
I don't like that when it's an accident, and what we have here is a series of deliberate murders committed by one of you.
Oh, boy. Shal's eyes rolled so loudly Tesla could hear them.
Something to say, Mr. Steward?
Weiser stalked down the aisle so he could loom over them. Shal slouched back in his seat.
Shal slouched.
Mm-hmm.
Loom over them.
Shal slouched back in his seat and grinned up at the man. Just wondering what your favorite detective movie is. I'd ask about books, but I'm guessing that's not your medium of choice. Or maybe the telly? Shorter. Sherlock, or Columbo, or Meta.
You just have to be the smartest guy in the room, don't you?
Ah, Dragnet. He waved his hand toward the stage as if he were the one in control, not Weiser. Carry on. I'm curious to see your process. Tesla raised her hand. And I'm curious to know why I can't contact my lawyer. Weiser grinned at her.
Not my doing. Your roommates each have an embedded spoofer.
Ewan's head came up, and they stared at Weiser and then at their father. From the front row, Majabine had turned to watch Weiser, frowning. I beg to differ. Mixed Lootmaker's contract, Ewan, which surely he could not with a built-in spoofer. Things were beginning to click into place.
Things. Here we go.
Built-in spoofer.
Things were beginning to click into place. Tesla shook her head. If you create the spoofer, you can track its signature. Oh. Shal pressed his hand to his forehead. Oh. Ewan's eyes widened, and they looked as if some things were coming together in their own head, like maybe how a spoofer would complain why they'd had navigation trouble with their robot in competition. They were biting their lips as if it were taking all of their willpower to not start asking questions. Crossing his arms over his chest, Weiser glowered down the row at Ori.
According to Ms. Crane here.
Let's go back and get a couple quick things. Like maybe how a spoofer would explain. I think you said complain.
Okay. I mean, you know.
Here we go. Oh, and then let's see here. We should just keep going from there because they were biting their lips as if it were taking all of their willpower not to start. I think you said to not start.
Okay.
So we'll just keep going from the punch we're currently on, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Like maybe how a spoofer. Here we go.
Okay.
In their own head.
Like maybe how a spoofer would explain why they'd had navigation trouble with their robot in competition. They were biting their lips as if it were taking all of their willpower not to start asking questions. Crossing his arms over his chest, Weiser glowered down the row at Ori.
According to Ms. Crane here, you were seen fighting with both Ms. Saikawa and the late Mr. Silver.
Except that still leaves 2 bodies and another attempt with no connection. Shal stared at the ceiling. Also, Ori wouldn't have taken a risk of being involved in murder.
You sound very certain of yourself, Mr. Steward. Why is that?
Shal sighed and leaned forward to look around Tesla, trying to make eye contact with Ori. Look, you know it's going to come out. You know it's about to happen because you've been afraid of it for years. Silence isn't going to help Ewan. What? The word burst out of Ewan, and they clamped their mouth shut again, shifting in their seat with anxious energy. You watched me on Cold Cases, right? Shal tilted his head so he was talking to Ewan, and his mouth twisted in a sad smile. We scanned trade magazines for cases and picked the ones that we were pretty sure I could solve, which made me look brilliant. There was one.
There was one.
Okay.
They look brilliant.
There was one with this toddler who'd been kidnapped a couple of years before, never found. They'd tried all the tricks, including aging a toddler photo to see what the kid.
They'd tried all the tricks. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Never found.
They'd tried all the tricks, including aging a toddler photo to see what the kid would look like as an 11-year-old. But the best AI software couldn't find a match anywhere. But if we'd done the show 3 years later, I would have found this. Shal raised the handheld and showed it to Ewan. The kid's eyes widened even further. Shal looked like his heart was going to break. His voice was low and quiet. You move a lot, don't you? Pop said we were going to start over on Mars. Tears were streaming down Ori's face.
Ewan, please. Hourglass. Don't talk to them. Don't.
I don't understand what's happening. You said my mother was a surrogate and that she died.
Hourglass. Hourglass.
Ori's voice was hoarse.
Please, they're going to lie to you. I'm your father, and I will keep you safe.
As Shal turned the handheld so Weiser could see it, the security chief's forehead creased into lines of confusion.
So he was killing people to keep them from revealing his secret?
No. The eye roll was not quite audible this time. No. The point is that Ori wasn't intentionally involved, because he's going to do everything he can to avoid attracting attention. Weiser asked,
What about the not what we agreed conversation?
Yuki, or his twin, had turned, hooking his arm over the back of the chair to watch, and said, Niles sometimes smuggled things in his magic chests. Perhaps they had an agreement about that. It could have been the blue octopoid. Tesla glanced briefly at the stage and then away from the curtains that masked the box that had mangled Nile. Weiser narrowed his gaze at her and tapped his finger on his chin in contemplation.
Officer Piper has told me that you also raised questions about the medical robot, as well.
After medical robot?
The medical robot. As well as Halden Kuznetsova's missing robot. And when did that go missing? Your original cabin was right next to his. What other robotics expert? Right next to his. What other robotics expert do we have on this ship?
It was Tesla's turn to roll her eyes. First, you don't need to be an expert if the thing is well programmed to begin with. Second, there are at least 3 of us in this room. I mean, why aren't you asking Jalna your fascinatingly insightful questions? There was no I mean there, sorry.
Sure.
It's in the next line.
Yeah, why? Here we go.
Okay.
In this room.
Why aren't you asking Jalna your fascinatingly insightful questions? I mean, she was backstage. Shal cleared his throat. Damn it. He'd warned her not to volunteer information, but at this point, cutting off was going to seem more suspicious than
backstage.
Weiser shot a quick glance up, as if he were checking something on his HUD. He focused his attention on Jalna.
What were you doing backstage?
Annie turned in her seat. You were backstage? She shook her head. It is nothing. Bribing me? The other Yuki raised his hand. She was bribing me to pick her partner as volunteer. Jalna, you didn't. The tall woman switched to low and rapid lunar French. Listening.
After lunar French.
Lunar French.
Listening, Annie shook her head and then sighed. Nodding as if he'd pieced things together, Weiser stalked down to the couple.
Ah, yes. One or both of you have been present at each of the deaths. Annie Smith, a.k.a. Annie Barnes, who was in the hallway when George Saikawa was killed, who just happened to be on stage with access to the apparatus that killed Niall Silver.
Annie lifted her chin. I was in full view of the audience the entire time.
He smirked. I've seen Ganymede Night. I know what you're capable of.
Mouth dropping open, Annie sputtered before getting out, 30 years ago, 40 pounds lighter, and with editing to hide my position switches. Sorry, I'm going to also fix a punctuation thing, because that should not be a period there. That should be a comma.
After 30 years ago.
Okay.
You ready?
I am ready.
Here we go.
Years ago,
40 pounds lighter, and with editing to hide my position switches in a film that was fiction.
So you were on stage while your partner was backstage, according to her.
He jerked a thumb at Tesla as if he had never had any doubt about any of Tesla's statements before this. As Jalna settled back in her seat, she met Weiser's gaze with calm. While I am willing to cooperate, I would prefer to consult with my lawyer first.
Plain.
Mm-hmm.
While I am willing is what I'll take it, I think.
Why I am willing. Oh.
Oh.
I think we are clear.
Okay, here we go. After calm, here we go.
gaze with calm.
While I am willing to cooperate, I would prefer to consult with my lawyer first. You can't possibly think Jalna had anything to do with any of this. Annie ignored her partner's attempt.
And here we go.
Any of this.
Annie ignored her partner's attempt to stop her and surged to her feet. Why would she?
Getting rid of business rivals is a popular motive.
Weiser ticked things off on his fingers.
She and Kuznetsova both make rope octobots.
Captain?
Captain has things to say downstairs.
No.
He's very concerned about this line of questioning.
Let's say she and Kuznetsova both make octobots.
Okay.
Off on his fingers.
She and Kuznetsova both make octobots.
Octopoids, Ewan muttered, nearly in time with Tesla and Jalna.
Then there's Crane back there. Discrediting her and her husband would leave the playing field wide open for Ms. Tafani to be the leading robotics expert.
Hello, plane. Ooh, very low.
No. Listen, see if I can hear it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, discrediting. I'll take it from there when the crop dusting is finished.
All right, I think we're clear.
Okay, after starting with discrediting.
There's Crane back there. Discrediting her and her husband would leave the playing field wide open for Ms. Tafani to be the leading robotics expert.
Annie scoffed. As if anyone takes Crane seriously as a developer after that Pamu disaster. Do you know how many systems failed on that? Stars and darkness spin past the edges of her vision. Tesla's ears are ringing. The suit.
After ringing.
Tesla's ears are ringing.
The suit.
Can we do Tesla's ears are ringing? There's a mouth noise on ringing right there.
Yes.
Thanks.
the edges of her vision.
Tesla's ears are ringing. The suit should auto-stabilize, and it's not, and she's having trouble thinking, and something is crushing her spine, so all she can catch are short... Gasping, Tesla looked up, trying to find something to catch hold of. I am safe. Lighting grid. The smooth silver curve of the Mars balcony. Weiser was talking to her beyond the ringing in her ears. She was on the Lindgren. Above the Martian level lay the lunar balcony. Scuffs on the polyamide laminate. Blue velvet seats. 4 things she heard. Her own breath whistling in her ears. Weiser talking. Servos whirring. Shal's voice. Tesla, you're on the Lindgren. I know. Servos whirring. Tesla's mind skipped back to the Rorschach of dents and scuffs on the Mars level balcony. Martian level. Did I say Mars before that? Mars balcony, I think I'm okay with. Martian level has been, however, consistent, so I'm going to change that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're taking it with Tesla's mind skip back.
Okay.
Those whirring.
Tesla's mind skipped back to the Rorschach of dents and scuffs on the Martian level balcony. Some of them looked like an engraver had drawn long lines down the side of the curve. Others were like a pointillist drawing of an 8-note scale, and actually, that was the standard grip pattern for an octobot. There's another plane.
Good. Let's do, I think it's pointillist, not pointillist.
Pointillist?
Check.
Oh, yes, I think you are correct.
So.
Pointillist. It is pointillist.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it from there when
the
parade of
aeroplane
plane ceases.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the wind has shifted so that we're more into the flight pattern than normal.
Yeah.
This has got to, for those of you watching, this has got to make the cliffhangers even worse when you keep hearing the same piece of dun 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 over and over again without actually us moving forward. Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Down the side of the curve.
Others were like a pointillist drawing of an 8-note scale, and actually, that was the standard grip pattern for an octobot.
Let's reconstruct that first murder, shall we? We have...
Second. Shal tilted his head back, following her gaze up to the lunar balcony. Weiser said,
Excuse me?
There's another one. Okay, that one was just skimming the edge of our airspace. I think we're okay.
Okay. Let me listen. I heard something like a horn blowing before that, so let's go punch in after. Let's reconstruct the murder. Here we go.
Okay.
And for an octobot.
Let's reconstruct that first murder, shall we? We have...
Second. Shal tilted his head back, following her gaze up to the lunar balcony. Weiser said,
Excuse me?
Second murder. There's the body and the recycler. Shal waggled his fingers at Weiser.
I heard a couple of thumps going on.
Yep.
One is
Me
in the
too.
clear. The other one, we got to guess. So 1 sec.
Yep. Somebody is very proud of their motorcycle.
Yes. just need the, let's reconstruct that first murder, shall we?
Okay.
There we go.
And for an Octobot.
Let's reconstruct that first murder, shall we? We have...
All right, so after shall waggled. Here we go.
And the recycler.
Shao waggled his fingers at Weiser, drawing attention away from her. Go on. I'm very interested in how we all gained access to a restricted area with a dead body. Also, how we got someone aboard without clearing the manifest. Oh, damn it. That's why Niall Silver was killed. Something moved in the darkness. She didn't have to be able to see it clearly to recognize the quality of the movement. There was an octopoid on the lunar balcony. Shao leaned forward in his seat.
Question.
Yes.
She said she saw the sucker pattern of an octobot before, and now we're calling it an octopoid. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Great. Let's see here. Shall lean forward. Here we go.
On the lunar balcony.
Shao leaned forward in his seat. Yuki, do you know which containers Niall used for smuggling? No, but I know which crates we weren't allowed to handle. Any of them big enough to hold a person? Or a dog? Afraid to lose track of the octopoid, she didn't turn to see their response. But someone who could smuggle a person on could also smuggle things off. A dog would be exotic anywhere that wasn't Earth, and she could imagine a purebred Westie would be tempting. She felt Shao begin to rise. With Chief Weiser's permission, of course. Noise.
Yeah, I heard that too. One sec.
No, but I know which crates we weren't allowed to handle. Any of them big enough to hold a person? Or a dog? Afraid to lose track of the octopoid.
Okay, I think we're clear again. Yeah.
She felt Shao's where we're going to take it. It avoids the plane noise.
Okay.
Like it's gone to me at least.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think so.
Tempting.
She felt Shao begin to rise. With Chief Weiser's permission, of course.
Why? Why would he be smuggling dead bodies?
The octopoid was coming down the stairs, was moving down.
Yeah, boy, here we go.
Smuggling dead bodies.
The octopoid was moving down the stairs, coming in and out of shadows. This seemed very wrong. Excuse me? It was a fashionable muted purple, exactly the same shade as her Accubot. Tesla grabbed the chair in front of her, using it to brace as she leaned and carefully twisted for a better view. Shao continued. Interesting thing. The interesting thing about that kidnapping case was that the police thought the kid was dead. They'd gotten close once, and there was a fire. Everything burned except a couple of teeth that were verifiably the child's. But kids lose baby teeth. That was her Accubot. Shao, there's a... It flung something toward the stage. Tesla grabbed Shao and yanked him down. The theater went black. Something hissed past. In the row behind them, someone grunted and then was silent. Are we going to 11 or 11:30 today?
11:30.
Okay.
Then break.
We are not ending with that cliffhanger. We can keep going.
No.
I'm fine. Another half hour is okay.
Okay, here we go. I mean, 12:30 for you, 11:30 for me. So we've got.
Oh. In that case, yes. Let me take a break.
Yeah.
In that case, yes, I am going to stretch and stand up and return. So you all get to listen to our beloved jazz. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Because I think it's more of the emotional feel. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me make sure everything is... All of the little meters are moving. Delightful. Great.
Moving.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me grab my crochet so it's in my lap, so we don't get the sound of it moving later. And also because it is providing warmth in my cold place. Why do you make so many blankets when you're crocheting in the booth? Well,
on my
chilly.
mind. Okay, so.
Okay. Dangerous words.
And then was silent. Dangerous words. Here we go.
Down. The theater went black. Something hissed past. In the row behind them, someone grunted and then was silent.
Dangerous words. 3/4 ounce green chartreuse, 3/4 ounce amaretto, 3/4 ounce lime juice, 3/4 ounce rye. Shake ingredients over ice for 15 seconds. For 15 seconds.
Shake. Here we go.
3/4 ounce green chartreuse, 3/4 ounce amaretto, 3/4 ounce lime juice, 3/4 ounce rye.
Shake ingredients over ice for 15 seconds. Strain into coupe. Shal's weight knocked Tesla to the floor between the seats. The pressure of his body intersected with hers in ways that locked them both in place for a moment. The safeties on her DBPS muffled the incoming bruises and the yellow-green knots of pain where her back had wrenched in the fall. Weiser shouted, "Lights! Get me lights!" Beams of waving light cut through the gaps between chairs as people turned their handhelds on. "Oh, God!" Hang on. Is that accent? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 1 sec. I'm just fixing a punch here. I've adjusted the punch length to be appropriate for where we're at. So, here we go. Have to turn their handhelds on. Here we go. You ready?
I am.
Here we go.
But I'm not hearing the punch.
No, you're not. You know why? Because I thought I'd changed the punch length. And instead, I changed the nudge length. Here we go.
Their handhelds on.
"Oh, God!" Emmanuel shouted. "Candy, help me!" "Where did it?" "The stage!" Shal scrambled back, trying to get off Tesla, and still made the pain spack past. So spack past is... yeah. It's backpacking, and you're packing a special thing, so that's why it's called spack past. And also the past tense refers to a repast, which is why it's a picnic. It's a special picnic, is a spack past.
If you carry it a backpack.
If you carried a backpack.
All right, Tesla. Let's see. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Shell scrambled. I got it all. So, Shell scrambled back. Here we go.
The stage!
Shal scrambled back, trying to get off Tesla, and still made the pain spike past what the safeties could muffle.
Sorry. Let's do it one more time right there. Trying to get off of Tesla.
Thank you.
Here we go.
The stage!
Shal scrambled back, trying to get off of Tesla, and still made the pain spike past what the safeties could muffle. Coriolis! Tesla grabbed his arm blindly, overriding the safeties so the pain vanished under a dull blanket. Lunar balcony? My Accubot. Shit. He hesitated, half over her. I'm gonna sneeze.
Half over her.
Oh. Okay.
Here we go.
Hated half over her.
Will you be? Yes, go. He grimaced.
He grimaced. Here we go.
Yes, go.
He grimaced, using the arm of a chair to push the rest of the way up. Maria, he pointed up. Coriolis effect. And he was gone, running up the aisle with one arm wrapped around his ribs. Tesla dragged herself out of the valley between rows, one joint at a time.
Ewan, get back here!
The kid appeared over her, hands flexing as if they needed to do something. Do you need help? The spoofer zone meant the octopoid could not have been remote-controlled by the kid. Or Ori, for that matter. Tesla stretched her hand out to Ewan. Thank you. Yes. They tried to pull her to her feet, but were too teenage lanky to do much more than steady her. Tesla needed that. They bent down, digging under the chairs, and came up with her cane. She took it and leaned heavily on the head. On the head? On the handle? That's weird.
I
I mean, sure.
Up to you.
How many times have I read this? And other people? I mean, maybe that's I don't know, maybe that's an actual term. It just sounds super strange.
The head of a cane, It brings to mind kind of one of those spherical topped canes.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought about doing, and then it was just like, I just am too tired to track that in every single scene, is that in order for a cane to be useful for her in lunar gravity, to have enough traction for her to put weight on it, it actually has to have a very broad base. And so really a cane that is designed to move between gravities would have to have a base that expands and contracts, or there would just be places where she's like, and this is completely useless, and I carry it as a balance, I just carry it. And I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna pretend that it's doing one of those two things, and it's so natural to her that she doesn't notice it. Because I was like, I can't.
That seems like a good decision to me.
Yeah. It's like the number of people who are going to know this about how the canes, about that sort of thing, very small. I'm just going to carry it on. It's not going to break it for anyone that I'm ignoring this.
Agreed. Let's see here. Okay. She took it and leaned heavily on the handle. Here we go.
Came up with her cane.
She took it and leaned heavily on the handle. Behind her, Candy was bending over Josie, who was slumped back in her seat. Emmanuel held a light over them, which made the blood spattered across the bartender vividly red. Hundreds of silver nails glittered among the red, making a pincushion of her face, neck, and chest. Even though Tesla knew what they had to be, it still took too long for her brain to recognize the piercings as... Excuse me? I had a snack while we took a break.
It's okay. Josie, who was slumped back in her chair. We need to say Josie was slumped back in her. You said seat.
Thank you.
You made her in a chair.
Thank you.
Behind her, Candy.
Heavily on the handle.
Behind her, Candy was bending over Josie, who was slumped back in her chair.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It still took too long.
Okay.
What they had to be.
It still took too long for her brain to recognize the piercings as hundreds of acupuncture needles driven deeper into Josie's body than they were designed to go. The needles were incredibly fine, but puncture an artery or the lungs, and it was possible to kill someone. It wouldn't be fast, but slow death is still death. Down the aisle, a cluster of people were running for the stage. The stage didn't matter. The Coriolis effect meant that any object thrown in a straight line would continue its path while the ship rotated around it, making it appear to turn in the air. On this ship, if someone had actually thrown the needles from the stage, the Coriolis effect would have twisted their path to hit the wall to the left of the theater. Instead, they'd hit Josie. No, wait. Josie had been seated behind them. Those needles passed through the air where Shal had been. They'd tried to kill Shal. Tesla's pulse thundered in her ears and adrenaline shook every joint in her body. They'd tried to kill Shal, and she'd just sent him running up to the balcony. She swallowed the sour terror rising in the back of her throat and looked up. She was never going to be able to catch up with him, and she didn't have to. The octopoid didn't matter. What mattered was the person running it. The way the ship was built, it was a Faraday cage, which the cruise line masked by installing signal boosters everywhere. But boosters introduced lag, and for the kind of precision throw the octopoid had just done, the operator would need to be close. In the front row, Jalni and Anna sat quietly, heads bowed with Majabin. It looked like they were praying, but no telling what conversation they were having on their own local network. Ewan, will you go back to sit with your dad? They looked to the end of the aisle where Ori was backlit.
Okay, look, we gotta get a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
Still, but slow death was still death. We said is still death on the previous page. Last line of the three paragraphs from the bottom, last line of the paragraph above. So the last line of the fourth paragraph from the bottom.
Okay, sorry, I didn't go back far enough.
Page 317.
317. I did go back far enough. There we go. Found it.
But slow death was still death.
Wouldn't be fast.
But slow death was still death. I did go look to see if death by acupuncture needle was possible. It is, but it's extraordinarily rare and almost has to be on purpose.
That's refreshing to know.
Mm-hmm.
I will be going back to my acupuncturist never.
No. Like when they're doing their actual thing. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, why? Did you have a thing that you did to your acupuncturist?
No. Okay, in the front row, we need to say, I need Jalna and Annie said quietly. You said this.
Jalni and Anna sat quietly.
It's her country cousin, Jalni.
Johnny and Anna. It's supposed to Annie. You
Yeah.
switch the last, yeah. Okay, just that phrase in the front row. So Johnny and Anna, Jalna and Annie sat quietly. Sorry about that. Jalna and Annie. Here we go.
In the front row,
Jalna and Annie sat quietly.
Great. After Dad.
to sit with your dad?
They looked to the end of the aisle where Ori was backlit by the emergency lights. Is he? She grimaced. I'm so sorry, but I need to see if someone was in range of your spoofer fields. So I need the conditions to be the same as when the lights went out. The teen nodded, shoulders slumping, and turned to walk back to the person who had raised them and apparently stolen them. Leaning on her cane, she limped down the aisle toward the people in the front row, throwing out a constant string of network requests to see when.
Throwing out constant. Oh, to see when.
Okay.
Network requests.
Throwing out a constant string of net. Oh, sorry, you just told me where we were, and I just. Okay. I'm fine.
Sorry.
La la la.
There we go.
Network requests.
To see when she was outside the spoofer field. Connection unavailable. She fumbled with her handheld, but her fingers were too numb to find the edge of her pocket. Connection unavailable. At the end of the row, her left foot caught on the carpet, and Tesla stumbled, knocking into a chair. She caught herself and dialed the DBPS back down a notch. The edge.
Here we go.
Back down a notch.
The edge of her vision seemed to go a dull greenish purple that matched the queasy ache in her spine. She gripped the edge of the chair, breathing in golden sunlight until she could see again. The auditorium was in chaos, and in the uneven emergency lights, it was hard to tell where anyone was. A calm voice echoed through the theater. Delta Gamma 774. Delta Gamma 774. For all the good that would do, with Weiser and most of his team already here. The security chief had run onto the stage with Bob, leaving a couple of junior staff members to try to corral the remaining passengers. One had gone to assist Candy. The other was blocking the end of the aisle to keep Ori from standing. Ewan was slumped in their seat. Connection unavailable. There were only 2 people in the front row now. The twins were gone. Tesla turned in place, looking for them in the echoing shadows. Nothing. It was too dim to tell who was still seated. She limped across the front row. Connection unavailable. Tesla stopped in front of the pair, who were little more than shadows in the dark. In silhouette, Jalna raised her head, and her eyes caught the yellow beam of an emergency.
We got to get, and it was too dim to tell who was seated. We just let the hand out. It was too dim, and it was too dim to tell. Just that phrase, or that sentence, rather.
Okay.
Nothing.
And it was too dim to tell who was still seated.
Jalna raised her head after head. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Jalna raised her head.
And her eyes caught the yellow beam of
Same place.
Jalna raised her head.
And her eyes caught the yellow beam of an emergency light. Majabine held her hand. Annie was not with her. Connection unavailable. The spoofer field apparently reached far enough to surround them. Tesla swallowed. Where's Annie? Jalna.
Jalna, here we go.
Where's Annie?
Jalna looked at the seat next to her, and her eyes widened. I do not know. She was just here. What did Annie do after she stopped acting? What? Did she just retire or change fields? Tesla glanced up to the.
Tesla glanced. Here we go.
Change fields?
Tesla glanced up to the lunar balconies, catching sight of Maria Piper running under an emergency lamp. Where was Shal? She came to work for me. Jalna frowned. Why? The operator had to be. They had to be close. Where could someone be reasonably assured of not being interrupted and still be close? Backstage. Except that if you wanted to misdirect people, you wouldn't make the knife appear to come from your actual hiding place. Do you know where the bathroom is? Majabine twisted in her chair, pointing with her free hand to a door at the back right of the theater. Just off the lobby?
right of the theater.
Just off the lobby? Thank you. Tesla rode the DBPS, letting enough sensation through that she wouldn't trip over her own feet, as every fiber of her back lit up with alternating distress signals. As she walked back up the aisle, she braced herself with cane and chairbacks. Her route took her past the bar and in line of sight to the door to backstage. Most of the main theater was obscured by a side wall that curved around the back row of seats, so she didn't have a clear view of what was happening in the audience. Back here, the emergency lights.
Back here,
No, that is correct. Thank you. That is a mistake. It should be needles.
all right, great. Let's go back and get that.
Mm-hmm. And also, there's another. While we're stopped, there's a continuity error that is an artifact from a previous version of this, where it was a different end game. So let's fix this, and we'll go back and fix one other thing, which I have to do a mild rewrite on.
Okay, one sec. I gotta find the nice line. Almost there. Here it is. You wouldn't make the needles appear to come from your actual hiding place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you, Alessandra. Here we go. I just assumed it was figure of speech incorrectly.
Yep.
Here we go.
Misdirect people.
You wouldn't make the needles appear to come from your actual hiding place. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll back up to see if I can... I think it's...
Sorry. You're looking, right?
I am...
Okay.
Actually, I think it's okay.
Okay.
I think it's okay as it is.
All right. So we'll take it from... back here, the emergency lights.
No, I actually do want to change it.
Okay. Where is it?
It's on 318 in the front row, Jalna and Annie.
Okay. I see it. Let me go find it. 1755. Just in the front row, Jana and Annie said quietly, or is there more?
It's just that sentence that I think that's the only sentence I'm changing.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, I got it. That's the only sentence we're replacing, but I'm replacing it with 2.5 sentences. So I'm going to need to go into looked like they were praying. So actually, I guess I am replacing a sentence and a half.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
To be close.
Only 2 people sat in the front row now. In the darkness, it was hard to tell who they were. With their heads bowed, it looked like they were praying. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then on 319, we have another slight change.
Just continue to polish this punch a little bit.
Let me know if you need me to do it again to give you a better match. Yeah, 319.
What's that?
Yes, I said let me know if you need me to give you, but then you had already fixed it, so I was going to. So there were only 2 people in the front row now is the sentence I'm replacing.
Okay. Find it. 61. Wow.
These are the problems that happen when you make changes to the plot after your beta readers have finished reading it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Action unavailable.
She had a better view of the people in the front row now.
So starting with the twins were gone after that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
After have a clear view of what was happening in the audience. So starting with back here, the emergency lights on page 320. right in the middle of the page, basically.
Yeah.
The paragraph
And then
starts, her
it's-
route took her past the bar.
Got it. Okay.
In the audience.
Her route. Sorry.
That's my bad. It's
There's-
that paragraph, but we're starting with back here, the emergency exit. Or back here, the emergency lights. It's further down that
Got it.
paragraph.
Got it. Okay.
Here we go.
In the audience.
Back here, the emergency lights cast harsh yellow puddles that created a path to the exits, connecting. From the auditorium, she could hear the occasional shout. Once she heard Shal yell, "Clear!" Connected. Without chairs, Tesla pressed her hand against the sidewall to steady herself. She got to the lobby. She got to the door.
To steady herself.
She got to the door to the lobby. She got to the door to the lobby. Why not? She got to the lobby door
To steady.
instead of. She got to the. I'm just gonna. That's just a terrible. She got to the lobby door. Just why? Why so many words? Okay.
Here we go.
To steady herself.
She got to the lobby door, and the bathroom door stood just to the side. It had an out-of-order sign across it. She rotated the cane in her hand and made a call to Fantine. "Hi, I'm about to do something very stupid. I know you're surprised." She took a breath and put.
She took a breath.
I know you're surprised.
She took a breath and put her free hand on the knob. Twisted. The door was locked. Grimacing, she looked down the aisles for anyone on staff who might have a key. The curtain billowed on stage, and she thought she heard Bob shout, but no one useful was in view. Not even Wiser. Fine, then. Kneeling with a straight back, she pulled the eyeglass repair kit out of her pocket. She didn't have the battery charger, but she had her handy. She didn't have chewing gum, but she had her anklet. Gold was a damn good conductor. Bending to reach the anklet sent lightning shooting down her leg in ways that screamed of new damage. Fine. She set the DBPS so she felt nothing. She had to watch her hands to unhook the anklet, but she got it off. Breathing through her teeth, she lowered the DBPS again so she could feel her hands and set to work. This would fry her handheld, but it was fast. She transferred the call to her HUD. "Sorry to cause problems. Just keep Shal safe and out of trouble, please?" She set the handheld on the floor and shoved the knife. Where did the knife come from? Screwdriver? I think screwdriver is actually what I meant there. Wow. Just in case people can't tell, at one point, this scene happened with a steak knife. Okay.
Shoved the knife.
Here we go.
Oh, please?
Sorry, one more time.
Oh, please?
She set the handheld on the floor and shoved the screwdriver. Da, da, da.
Oh, please?
She set the handheld on the floor and shoved the screwdriver into the edge of the case, popping the lid off with a quick twist. Another twist popped the cover off the lock. As soon as the anklet was in place, her finger hovered over the power button. With a grimace, Tesla used the doorknob and cane to drag herself back up to her feet. She was stupid, but not quite stupid enough to open the door while she was kneeling. She gripped the cane with one hand and the handheld in the other. Power. Sparks flew. She closed her eyes, darkness spinning around her. She was in the theater. The person who had tried to kill Shal was on the other side of this door. Tesla pushed the door open with a quiet pop. Light from a portable lamp bled under the accessibility stall at the far end. She stepped into the bathroom, left legs stuttering and dragging like an engine out of oil. Being stealthy wasn't an option. The person at the end had to have heard her. "Come out." She tried to infuse her voice with the faintly annoyed sound she used during corporate takeovers. "You're caught and the game is up." From the stall.
From the stall. Hurricane. We got to go back and see. You said the cane, and it's got to be hurricane.
Thank you.
She
Got
gripped
it.
hurricane with one hand and the handle with the other. Here we go.
While she was kneeling.
She gripped her cane with one hand and the handheld in the other.
Thank you.
And the game is up.
From the stall, a leather shoe squeaked against the tile floor. A man sighed. "Tesla, baby." Her heart stopped. "Shall?" He sighed again. "Yeah. But you were beside me." Sweat poured down her back. She had assumed that the needles came from the octopoid, but how much simpler they would be to throw from one row away. "I can explain." "You can explain?" The room spun around her as her collar seemed to tighten around her throat. "Everybody has secrets. Everybody lies." "Explain what?" "I need you to know that I love you." He sighed again. "But I also had a job to finish." "Oh my God!" Tesla shoved the door to the stall open. His hand in a bright blue nitrile glove grabbed her and shoved her against the wall of the bathroom, with her face pressed against the tile. The DBPS fought.
The DBPS.
I really wish I could see the chat right now.
Alessandra, when I went back to fix the cane, she said, "Why go back? Andrew, we're so close, no stopping." Here we go.
Pressed against the tile.
The DBPS fought to keep the pain at bay, but her vision still went red and white. Something cold pressed against her temple, and Shal whispered, "I loved you so much. I'm so sorry." Click. The DBPS turned off. Jagged purple-blue bolts twisted through her spine and ribs. Bruises and torn muscles and layers of pain lit up along deadened.
This is twisted. Let's do it from bruises and torn. Let's see, jagged blue bolts. Let's do it from jagged purple blue bolts, please. There's just a click. Just keep going.
Turned off.
Jagged purple-blue bolts twisted through her spine and ribs. Bruises and torn muscles and layers of pain lit up long deadened pathways. Tesla convulsed. Her knees gave out. Connection lost. She dropped to the floor and felt every piece of her knees and forearms slam against the cold tile. Keening, she tried to push.
Here we go.
The cold tile.
Keening, she tried to push back up, but pitched over on her side. Halden Kuznetsova stood over her. "Well, damn." He sounded like Shal. "I did not expect turning off your subdermal systems to drop you like that." "What?" Why did he sound like Shal? He kicked the cane away from where she'd dropped it. "Still, your lawyer, who I'm assuming you had on speed dial, since you always do, should have heard my little confession, so that's something. What to do with you now?" She pressed her hand against the floor, and a piece of rebar seemed to wedge into her vertebra. Tesla gasped, blinking aside tears. God damn it! She was not going to just lie here while Halden Kuznets. Now, when she couldn't use it, her brain pointed out that this man hadn't remembered that he owned the Lindgren. He hadn't known that you could convert a matter printer to be a scanner. He owned an octopoid. And all of that gave her the useless answer to who the dead body in the recycler was.
And all of that.
He owned an octopoid.
And all of that gave her the useless answer to who the dead body in the recycler was. You aren't Halden Kuznetsova. Who are you? He grinned and offered a little bow. His voice shifted and he sounded like Chief Weiser.
A good actor, a very good actor.
Very good.
Like Chief Weiser.
A very good actor with an uncanny resemblance. And while it's nice to briefly have the recognition of my skills, that's all the monologue I'm going to do now.
He opened his coat and pulled out a steak knife.
Best to be consistent.
Dun, dun, dun. Sorry. I was like, you probably need to cut the dun dun dun. I will stop so that you can.
Thank you.
This is the scene that I had been writing towards the entire novel.
The one we're about to do? Or the one we just did?
No, the one that we just finished. I was looking forward to it so much.
I was surprised.
Mm-hmm. Good. I hope you were surprised twice.
I was surprised twice. That's true.
All right.
All right, here we go with an apparent cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
To be consistent.
Apparent cocktail. 1.5 ounces gin, 1.5 ounces Dubonnet.
Dubonnet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Ounces gin.
1.5 ounces Dubonnet. Sorry, I just spotted a, since we were stopped, I'm just going to remove the extra space that is up there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's do it. 1.5 ounces gin. There's kind of a sigh at the end of it. Let's just do that too. So after apparent cocktail, please.
Okay.
Parent cocktail.
1.5 ounces gin, 1.5 ounces Dubonnet, dash absinthe. Stir ingredients over ice for 40 seconds. Strain into coupes. Halden, or whoever he was, switched his grip on the wood handle of the steak knife. Whoops. Your spouse is right-handed. Gotta get... Oops, sorry, he still sounds like Weiser.
Let's see here.
Oh, no,
Just
actually,
check.
he sounds like... Who does he sound like right now?
It's that.
Okay, I'm gonna just keep him as Weiser because that's where we were.
I'm just checking one thing. That's really unhelpful.
Great, good. That's
Yep, not helpful at all. Here we go. Let's check here. So 1.5 ounces. I'm being, I guess maybe I'm being too picky. Dubonnet. You said Dubonnet. You hit the nay as opposed to the do.
got it. Oops.
Just that little piece, please.
1/2 ounces gin.
1.5.
1/2 ounces gin.
1.5 ounces Dubonnet.
Okay, moving on. After handle of the steak knife, so we're starting with Wiser's voice.
Flip the steak knife.
Yes.
Whoops. Your spouse is right-handed, isn't he? Gotta get that right for character consistency.
Her back spasms were sending familiar bolts down her left leg. This was just pain. She'd lived with pain for years before getting the DBPS. She knew how to do this. Tesla took short breaths, tightening her core to try to keep things stable. Work with the body parts that are functioning. Compensate for the rest. Tesla pulled her left leg solidly under her. Teeth gritted. Actually, I think he would probably switch back to shall now that I think about it.
Okay.
Because he's trying to stay in character.
Right. Let's just get that line. Here we go.
Flip the steak knife.
Whoops.
Your spouse is right-handed, isn't he? Gotta get that right for character consistency.
One more time, please.
Flip
Okay,
the
I
steak
did
knife.
Whoops.
Your spouse is right-handed, isn't he? Gotta get that right for character consistency.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Did it sound like I started with Wiser and then shifted to shall because that's what I was aiming for?
It did, and yes, it did.
Good. As if I thought this through ahead of time.
So we're going back to teeth gritted. What's that? I missed that.
I said, as if I thought this through ahead of time. Here are places where writer Mary Robinette envisioned the scene, but perhaps did not leave enough markers for narrator Mary Robinette.
Let's see here. Yeah, so as someone has just mentioned, and I've checked, we need to start with Tesla pulled her right leg solidly under her. You said left.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reed. Here we go.
Compensate for the rest.
Tesla pulled her right leg solidly under her. Teeth gritted, she grabbed the stall's accessibility bar and hauled up. Oh, no, you don't. Halden swung the knife at her throat. Letting go of the bar, Tesla dropped to the floor. She was very, very good at falling. The knife slammed into the tile, skidding along the wall. Halden raised it over his.
Skidding along the wall.
Halden raised it over his head, pivoting to follow her. Tesla thrashed with her good leg and connected with his ankle. It didn't drop him, but he staggered, catching himself against the tile with an elbow. Shoving off, she rolled to the side, passing under the bottom of the partition into the next stall. Damn it! His shoes darted into the main bathroom.
Is he switching to Wiser on the damn it?
No.
Okay, let's take it from
That was just me trying not to peek the mic, and I shifted.
Gotcha. Here we go.
Into the next stall.
Damn it! His shoes darted into the main bathroom. Lurching up, Tesla slapped the lock on the stall door. Behind her, the toilet played its jaunty tune, lights dancing as the lid slid open. Halden slammed against the outside of the stall. The metal door rattled in its lock.
Right there.
Outside of the stall.
The metal door rattled in its lock. On her knees, Tesla leaned against it. Golden sunlight, breathe through the pain. The door wouldn't hold. He could get under it. She had to get out of here. She dropped back to the floor and rolled into the next stall. As she rose to her knees, the toilet chimed. Lights splayed across the stall. She slapped the lock closed as Halden slid to the next door. In the distance, Gimlet barked. Tesla gasped, almost sobbing. She dropped to the floor again. Under the edge of the stall, Halden took a giant step and slammed the door to the next stall open. The toilet played a happy greeting. He knelt, bending to look under the partition at her. Tesla kicked him in the face. The knife hit the floor. Snatching it, she rolled back under the partition to get a stall away from him, and then again to get back.
Let's see here. After away from him, but there's a couple things.
Okay.
Okay. He knelt. No. Yes, he knelt. What did I like about he knelt? Something about it. What's partition?
Thank you.
Can we just that phrase? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just keep going from there? It's pretty close. Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
Played a happy greeting.
He knelt, bending to look under the partition at her. Tesla kicked him in the face. The knife hit the floor. Snatching it, she rolled back under the partition to get a stall away from him, and then again to get back into the last one on the end. The toilet sang its announcement of joy at her arrival as she pushed up on her right knee and shoved the door closed, locking it. There was no gap between one burning ache and the next. Golden sunlight. She grabbed the accessibility bar.
She grabbed.
Golden sunlight.
She grabbed the accessibility bar and pulled. Tight core. Pushing with her right leg, she dragged the left under her, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Standing, she held her left leg straight and tried to lock her knee. Gimlet barked again, closer, sounding as if she were chasing a delivery person. Halden slammed against.
Halden slammed.
Delivery person.
Halden slammed against the outside of the door. You bitch! His voice was unfamiliar. Droplets of blood hit the floor. Are we really going to add gendered insults? I thought you were a great actor. Let me try that just one more time. I didn't like my read.
Okay.
Blood hit the floor.
Are we really going to add gendered insults? I thought you were a great actor. Hopefully the fact that she could kick him would keep him from trying to come under the door, but this sort of lock was dead simple to pick. She stepped to the side of the door, ready with the knife. So, were you planning on taking over Halden's identity with the move to Mars, where fewer people knew you? When did the plan start to go wrong? When George came on the cruise, or when you met Ruth? He laughed, and his voice shifted again, becoming Ruth Fish's. Sloppy research. It shifted again into Halden's voice. I didn't spot her name on the manifest, or I would have picked a different ship. So did you stab yourself, or... He grabbed her ankles and yanked. Tesla fell, cracking her shoulder against the toilet. It sang as Halden dragged her under the bottom of the stall door. Writhing, Tesla tried to kick him off. He stomped on her knee, sending red and white sparks across her vision. She screamed, sobbing. In one nitrile-gloved hand, he held the controller for her Accubot and lifted it, taking aim at her head. Lover's spat. That'll work. Outside the bathroom door, Gimlet barked as if...
Outside.
And there's a plane. La la la. Okay, I think we're clear.
Okay, here we go.
That'll work.
Outside the bathroom door, Gimlet barked as if the delivery person were right there. Golden sunlight. She still had the knife. Tesla lurched, half-rolling, and sank the knife into his thigh. Halden shrieked. She wrenched the knife out as he dropped to the floor. Falling back, Halden dropped the controller and grabbed the wound on his thigh. The outer bathroom door rattled with soft thumps, punctuated by frantic barking. Tesla pushed up to her knees, holding the knife with one hand. With the other, she grabbed the controller, yanking it away before he could reach it. Sobbing, Halden let go of the wound in his leg and crawled into the nearest stall. The toilet sang happily. Tesla shook her head, pressing against the wall for support as she forced herself to stay upright. "That's not going to work. Do you think you can get away?" The bathroom door opened, and a white streak burst into the room. A wiggling, barking, tiny fury ran straight to Tesla. She dropped the controller and pulled Gimlet close. "Baby, little girl, I've been so worried." Wiggles and kisses and whines whirled around her as Gimlet spun, trying to press herself against every part of Tesla. Nothing hurt less, but Gimlet was safe and there. But with Gimlet safe in there. Let me read all of the words that are on the page, just as a thing to try.
Mm-hmm. Nothing hurt less, but we need to get one thing.
Oh, there's a train.
Okay.
So what do we need to get?
Falling back, Alden dropped the controller and grabbed the wound on his thigh.
Got it.
Go.
Dropped to the floor.
Falling back, Halden dropped the controller and grabbed the wound on his thigh. Woohoo! And it's noon my time, which means that my babysitting software has unlocked. So that I can...
Alessandra's encountered buffering. She's very sad.
Aww.
Can't see what's happening.
Oh no.
Just happened.
Yeah. Paul, yes, your banter yesterday about Fontaine using voice-changing powers, I was internally giggling. Okay.
So, after press yourself against every part of Tesla. So nothing hurt less is where we're going for.
Yeah. Oops.
Is that me or you?
Sorry. That is me. It's an airplane again.
Yeah.
Alessandra, in response to the question about what's that note about Elsie and the late Sadie, it's on page 360, so we just haven't gotten to it yet. It's in the acknowledgments. Okay, I think we're clear.
Nothing hurt less. Here we go.
Be part of Tesla.
All right, top of
Sorry,
page
I was on the
327.
wrong page. Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Be part of Tesla.
Nothing hurt less, but with Gimlet safe and there, the pain didn't matter. In the doorway, Annie and the Yuki twins stared at her. Annie took a step into the bathroom. "Oh, my lands, are you all right?"
She has a knife.
In the stall, the man's sobs were ragged and sounded genuine. His voice was back to being Halden's.
Be careful. She tried.
At the sound of his voice, Gimlet pointed at the stall and went into full delivery bark. A long, rolling wave of furious, unending yaps of hatred. "Good girl," Tesla scratched. I'm not sure that Halden's voice actually sounded genuine.
You want to hear it?
Did it sound genuine?
Pretty genuine to me.
Okay, great.
I thought.
Great. I trust you on that.
There
We
you
will
go.
carry over.
Be careful. She tried.
Great. That sounds genuine enough for me.
Yep. So after good girl, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Good girl.
Tesla scratched Gimlet's rump and turned to Annie, who was staring at the knife in her hand. One more time. I just want to do a different read on that.
Good girl.
Tesla scratched Gimlet's rump and turned to Annie, who was staring at the knife in her hand. The bloody knife that she had, in fact, just stabbed Halden with. Tesla swallowed and set the knife on top of the controller. "It's not what it looks like."
It's exactly what it looks like. If you hadn't come in, she would have killed me.
Halden cracked the door and peeked out. Blood dripped from a split lip. His eyes were red and swollen, and sobs shook his chest. He staggered out, trousers gashed and blood-stained. His hands were bare, and the palms were wet with blood from his leg. "Oh, my!" Annie looked from Tesla to Halden and back, her expression dropping into horrified disbelief. But you seemed so nice." He was a damn good actor. She had to give him that. Gimlet did not care.
"Don't let it bite me!"
Halden gasped and stumbled back into the stall. The toilet sang a happy song.
Toilet, here we go.
Back into the stall.
The toilet sang a happy song and flushed. God damn it. He'd just flushed the nitrile gloves. Tesla tried to stand, but the adrenaline that had let her power through the pain had left shaky weakness in its wake. "I found him in here with the controller for an octopoid robot, which he used to throw acupuncture needles in the theater. It clearly could not have been me, because there was a spoofer field. Gimlet." Shal caught himself on the doorframe right behind the Yuki twins. Sweat coated his face, and the dim light made his skin look even grayer. "Tesla? Oh, shit." Annie backed away from him. One of the twins turned to the theater and cupped his hands. "I need some help here." Arm wrapped around his ribs, Shal stepped into the room, heading straight for Tesla. She held up a hand to stop him. "Crime scene! Don't come in!" Shal stopped, on his toes, as if his momentum were going to pitch him forward into the room.
After toes, I think.
Okay.
On his toes.
As if his momentum were going to pitch him forward into the room. His jaw tensed. "First, do you need medical attention?" She shook her head. Inside the stall, Halden gave a breathless, horrified laugh.
"She stabbed me, but I'm not taking any help."
And there's an airplane as well as me stumbling, so great. Good timing on that stumble. That's why I stumbled, really. It was...
Yeah, it's on purpose. Give the
just
airplane a
because
graceful entrance.
Yes, we wanted to make sure that the pilot didn't feel rushed. Okay. We're clear?
Yep. After she stabbed me.
"She stabbed me, but I'm not taking any help from you."
Shal did a double take, gaze going from Tesla to the stall, to the knife, to the controller, and back to Tesla. "Halden? He's an actor. It's an identity theft scheme. I think he's been killing everyone who could give it away and trying to make himself look like the victim."
"I was stabbed! Twice!"
Halden gasped.
"Oh my God! And the cabin, when the lights were out, those were your scissors! You were the one who stabbed me then, too!"
Shal's breathing was tight and rapid. He wet his lips and looked at Tesla. "Did he just try to kill you?" "Just a little." Screw the correct. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to insert a comma there, since there should be one. Okay.
After just a little.
I'm also going to have some water.
Okay.
Okay, carry on.
Here we go. Screw the crime scene.
Just a little.
Screw the crime scene. He strode into the room, slammed the bathroom stall open.
He strode.
Mm-hmm.
Slammed. Here we go.
Okay.
Strode into the room.
Slammed the bathroom stall open and dropped into a boxing stance. Halden yelped, and Tesla did not think he was acting. Shal's fist slammed into Halden's jaw. The other caught him in the midriff. Halden crumpled like a rag doll. Wheezing, Shal bent double, both arms wrapped around his ribs. Tesla found her feet somehow and rested her hands on his back to steady him while he breathed through the pain. Gimlet slid past her, him. All of them, really.
Gimlet slid. Here we go.
Breathed through the pain.
Gimlet slid past him and grabbed Halden's trouser leg, yanking at it with short, furious growls.
What the hell is going on?
Weiser strode into the room, followed by the wall of Bob. He looked at the blood and the knife and the man crumpled on the floor and straightened.
Shalmanessa Stewart and Tesla.
Shalmanessa, here we go.
And straightened.
Shalmanessa Stewart and Tesla Crane, you're under arrest for murder.
Cognac Stinger. 2 ounces cognac. 3/4 ounce creme de menthe. Fresh mint. Creme de menthe.
Creme. Yes.
Creme de menthe? Creme de menthe.
That's what I wasn't sure about.
To the Forvo!
To the Forvo, everybody! Ugh, not even close. Well, the English say creme de menthe, but the French say creme de menthe with a hard T.
Yeah, we're going to go with
we'll
creme
do
de
the
menthe.
English.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sounds good to me. So after 3/4 ounce, here we go.
Okay.
3/4 ounce.
One more time.
3/4 ounce.
Creme de menthe. Fresh mint. Shake cognac and creme de menthe over ice for 15 seconds. Strain into coupe. Garnish with mint leaves. The cushion that Fantine had argued for barely softened the hard metal chair. Tesla kept her hands in her lap, running them over Gimlet's warm fur to try to distract herself from the shape of her spine. She couldn't actually feel the screws holding her back together, but she could imagine each rigid piece of titanium burrowing into bone. Slow breath. Golden sunshine. Gimlet's silky ears. Thank God, or Fantine, that she'd argued them into allowing Gimlet to stay with Tesla on medical grounds. She knew that Shal could take care of himself, but having Gimlet out of her sight again would have broken her more. On the handheld that Lee Osborne de Monchaux had propped on the table beside his immaculate cuff, Fantine fumed. Don't care if he owns the entire solar system. The man impersonating.
The man impersonating, but we're going to go back and get something.
Okay.
15. Does 15 bother you? Take a listen.
Shake cognac and creme de menthe over ice for 15 seconds. Strain into coupe.
It's a little muddy. I can make that cleaner.
Okay. Just that through 15 seconds, please.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
There's a plain.
Fresh mint.
Plain. It's an important ingredient in any cocktail. All right. Clear.
Okay. Here we go.
Fresh mint.
Shake cognac and...
Fresh mint.
Shake cognac and creme de menthe over ice for 15 seconds.
And then argued. There's a dropout on argued. I just need the cushion that Fantine had argued for.
With mint leaves.
Sorry, I was at the wrong argued. My bad.
That's all right. Here we go.
Strain into coupe. Garnish with mint leaves.
The cushion that Fantine...
that was my bad. Sorry.
With mint leaves.
The cushion that Fantine had argued for barely softened the hard metal chair.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. After solar system. I don't care if he owns half the solar system or the entire solar system. So start with the man impersonating. Here we go.
Our solar system.
The man impersonating Holden Kuznetsova has endangered the lives of my clients multiple times. By treating my client as if she were a guilty party, it's as if the cruise line wants to be complicit in his attempts to add them both to his list of murder victims. Lee Osborne de Monchaux's mouth twitched. He steadied his gaze on Tesla again. Regardless of who owns the ship, we have witnesses who are making very serious claims against your clients. Mix Crane's fingerprints were on the knife that stabbed Mix Kuznetsova. They were on the octopoid controller. We have her story for how that took place, and we also have Mix Kuznetsova's. My client will only answer the following questions. From his spot next to the lawyer's, Weiser leaned back in his chair.
One of those stories has physical evidence to back it up.
Tesla's willpower gave out, and she responded, hearing her voice rise with each sentence. Yuki pulled my dog out of Niall Silver's trunks, one of which was big enough for a person and had a breathing apparatus in it. Apparently, the twins had decided to be as cooperative as possible and had opened the trunks that Niall had forbidden them to touch.
That only tells us that Niall Silver was smuggling.
She held in a groan. He was right, only so far as they had no idea how Silver had gotten Gimlet from their room to the theater, or why. The only person who would know some of those answers was the actor, and he was still pretending to be Holden Kuznetsova. She will answer question 3. The state of the bathroom when she first entered it. Maria Piper came back into the room. She set a bottle of water on the table and a small bag with a single pill in it.
Oxyfeldone, per your lawyer. Neither of these have been out of my hands since the matter printer. Happy, counsel?
Weiser rolled his eyes.
As if she could fend off her attacker as she claimed.
As if that there's one thing.
Only one?
Just one, I think.
Great.
A guilty, what did I think? Treating my client. I treat my client as if she were a guilty party. Let's see here. I hear that okay.
Okay.
If she were a guilty party, yeah. Okay. Back to where we were. No thanks. After Weiser rolling his eyes.
Okay.
Let's see here. I think they would have been able to afford a better chief of security. It's such an expensive ship. Here we go.
Rolled his eyes.
As if she could fend off her attacker as she claimed.
Rolled his eyes.
As if she could fend off her attacker as she claimed, if she's got the medical conditions you say she does.
And also question 7. Her best recollection of the timing of events between the theatre lights going out and the arrival of Annie Barnes, a.k.a. Annie Smith. Note, this focus is on the timing solely to allow your investigation to connect it with activities of other parties. She was tired, she hurt, And while she shouldn't talk without Fantine in the room, it was hard to think about anything except the muscles knotting themselves into tighter and tighter balls. Tesla scraped the pill off the table and held it up. Tell me why I would have turned off my own DBPS if I had any goddamned choice in the matter.
Sympathy ploy.
Weiser's mouth turned down sourly.
I see this all the time. People who pretend to be handicapped to get a better room or skip a line.
Wow. Pretending. Handicapped? She turned to Lee Osborne de Monchaux. Someday I'd love to talk about licensing the time travel technology which has allowed you to be able to hire someone from 1980. He twisted his neck in a strained acknowledgement. Imperial System Ships believes in accessible travel and recognizes that not all disabilities are visible. I believe Chief Weiser meant to merely.
I believe I need to check one thing I had marked but did not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go back and get. Or just Fantine. Thank God, or just Fantine. Yep, I marked it. Didn't get it. Thank God.
Okay.
Or just
Back.
Fantine. We just need or just Fantine. Yeah, it's on page 330.
Okay, found it.
Second paragraph. Yeah. There we are. I found it for myself now. Here we go.
Spooky ears.
Thank God, or just Fantine. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Alessandra. I had it marked, but apparently didn't go back far enough last time we stopped.
And I think Paul initially spotted the just, but Alessandra went to confirm, which
Oh.
I greatly appreciate.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Let's see. After not all disabilities are visible, punching after that. There we go.
Abilities are visible.
Sorry, I was still on the wrong page.
Yeah, funny thing, me too. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Got it.
332.
332.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Abilities are visible.
Sorry, one more time. I just forgot whose voice I was doing briefly. I'm okay.
Here we go.
Abilities are visible.
I believe Chief Weiser meant to merely offer speculation of possible motive, rather than an expression of the corporation's views on individual abilities.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
But somehow it's more believable that I have been running around killing people all over the ship? Weiser shrugged.
Well, not alone.
He wasn't working alone either. She opened the bottle of water. He had all of you working for him. That voice trick of his. Oh, that was why Shal didn't remember that she had called him. She hadn't called him. The fake Halden had answered the phone. Had he been in the room or just rerouted the call using an owner override? Weiser snorted, looking at Lee Osborne de Monchaux.
Do we really have to do this? We caught her literally red-handed.
There's a recording of him talking to me as if he were Shal on my lawyer's phone, and it happened while Shal was with Maria. She rolled the old familiar capsule between her fingers. It would dull the pain as long as she didn't mind all the side effects. Getting the DBPS, on the other hand, had been like having a switch flipped in her brain, which, in fact, was literally what it was, and allowed her to go whole hours without pain. It let her sleep through the night. It let her function without having to measure every single goddamned step she would take in a day.
According to Maria, she was not with your husband at...
Okay, great, sorry.
Every single goddamn step.
Okay.
After day, so we have to get. Oh wait, no. The letter function without having to measure every single goddamn step she would have to take. We left out the half.
Okay.
Take that right there and keep going, please.
Sleep through the night.
It let her function without having to measure water.
Right.
Okay.
Or sleep through the night.
It let her function without having to measure every single goddamned step she would have to take in a day.
According to Maria, she was not with your husband at that time because he suggested that they separate to do a better search pattern.
Let me make the better search pattern more of a quote.
At that time, because he suggested. Okay. Here we go.
Husband at that time. Because he suggested that they separate to do a better search pattern for the alleged Octobot.
Octopoid. Tesla tossed the pill into her mouth and took a sip of water.
Answer the questions, like your lawyer says. Why did you take a knife into the bathroom in the theater?
It wasn't exactly the question that Fantine had told her to...
It wasn't. Here we go.
Okay.
Bathroom in the theater.
It wasn't exactly the question that Fantine had told her to answer, but Tesla just didn't care. The spoofer zone around Ori and Ewan meant that no one in that section of seating could have been using the Octopoid.
I'm not asking about the Octopoid.
She glared at him and did not make any attempt to hide her disdain. I'm answering one of the two questions my lawyer approved and explaining the timing of events. But if you want me to shut up, I will. But I'll tell you what happens as a result. What happens is that we get to Mars and Halden gets off the ship. While the real investigation happens with actual detectives who know their jobs, the actor cleans out Kuznetsova's accounts and vanishes.
And your lawyer gets you out of jail, scot-free. Right.
Weiser leaned forward, face mottling red.
Let me tell you then that I'm sick and tired of rich people like you coming on and thinking they can get away with anything they want.
Lee Osborne de Monchaux cleared his throat. I would suggest that we keep our comments to ones in line with corporate policy. Just as anything Mix Crane says can be used against her, the same is true for us. With a single long gold nail, he indicated the handheld on which Fantine crocheted while she waited out the 20-minute lag.
All right.
Weiser shrugged, then leaned back in his seat. He stretched his legs out in front of him in a show of ease.
Go ahead. Tell me about the Octobot.
In her lap, Gimlet raised her head and huffed. Tesla ran a soothing hand down the little dog's back. The Octopoid operator needed to be close to avoid lag. I remembered that Annie had said that the restroom by the yoga studio had been out of order. We'd also found a blue suckerfoot there. She looked at Maria. Was one there when you checked? Weiser sliced his hand through the air.
Don't answer her.
Behind his back, Maria met Tesla's gaze and gave a tiny nod that might almost have been nothing more than a blink. Annie was missing from the theater, so I thought I would check the bathroom, mistakenly believing that she was the Octopoid operator.
If you were so sure the murderer was in there, why didn't you ask someone to help you?
Weiser looked at the screen.
If I'm allowed follow-up questions.
What Tesla should do was to wait the 20 minutes for Fantine to give her the go-ahead, but she was tired and angry, and the longer this took, the longer she had to sit in this goddamned chair. It hurt to lean back. It hurt to sit forward. Besides the fact that I hadn't been given reason to trust the security on the ship, I wonder. I did contact my lawyer so that there would be a record of my entry, which will show that events line up with my account until my systems were disabled.
Yeah, your husband was in the bathroom. I heard.
She stretched one shoulder, trying to ease a knot. And now I'm covering for him allegedly attacking me because... Weiser waved a hand.
We see this all the time. A couple has a fight, it comes to blows, but the moment we go to restrain the aggressor, the victim has a change of heart. They love them. Or, she bared her teeth in a boardroom smile, or the explanation that fits.
Couple of things. Alessandra was wondering whether Weiser would call Maria Piper or Maria.
Actually, I think he would call her Maria because he's Bob.
Right.
Bob and Maria,
Right.
I think.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay, at the bottom of page 333, with a single long gold nail, he indicated the handheld on which Fantine crocheted. It's the last sentence of the second paragraph from the bottom. Let's see here. Just the on which was garbly.
Okay.
For us.
With a single long gold nail, he indicated the handheld on which Fantine crocheted while she waited out the 20-minute lag.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We should look for a place to stop.
Yes, we should.
The end of Tesla's line.
Sounds good. After she bared her teeth in the boardroom smile. Here we go. So through identity theft, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Boardroom smile.
Sorry. One more time. I was looking at chat. Sorry. I shouldn't do it.
Sorry.
In a boardroom smile.
Or the explanation that fits all of the facts, instead of the gaping holes that your theory leaves, is that an actor is engaged in identity theft. So we should finish in the next session. Speaking of which,
I agree.
I don't think that we get to record tonight. Because for my Patreon supporters, I am doing a Q&A. And when we were setting this, I totally forgot to look at that on the schedule. So that means that I think our next
Wednesday
session,
night.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
Yep.
So we will finish
Paul
this.
Says, "Ag!"
But Paul, you get to, because you're a patron now, you get to, I think you're at that level. Anyway, you can probably come to the Q&A and ask me questions. But otherwise, yes, sorry for the cliffhanger. Could be worse. We could have stopped in the middle of the last chapter.
Right. I agree. This is a better cliffhanger than a more reasonable cliffhanger than the previous one.
Yes. The other one was a better cliffhanger in terms of cliffhanger structure,
Yes.
but
This one
this
is
this is less
more
cruel.
handleable. Yes, exactly. All right.
All right. Thank you all so much. I'll see you tomorrow night, except for those of you that I see at the Q&A tonight. Bye, everyone.